Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. This video is very interesting. Actually, the truth is we're covering what happens when you don't have a will. Because sometimes, you just sit there and you're like, yeah, I'll get it done. Yeah, I'll get a will done. Yeah, it's important. Yeah, very important to get a will done. But none of us have wills, especially our age group and younger. We don't even think about these things, but this is what happens when you don't have a will. I have with me Jenny Nduati from No Advocates, who will help us understand the stress that people go through when there's no will. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Rina.
Yeah. So what happens when you don't have a will?
Okay, so when one dies without a will, they are deemed to have died intestate. And the issues that arise from that are even nerve-wracking for us as lawyers, because we've had scenarios where the dependents or the person who's supposed to be the administrator doesn't have the schedule of the actual assets that have been left behind. That's number one. Number two, the people left behind need to agree. Number one, who's the administrator? And in most cases, they are required to appoint more than one. So you'd need two administrators. And you find in some cases, the children and the spouse who've been left behind can't agree on the two people. And without that, you're not able to move ahead, because a consent form has to be signed by the other beneficiaries who are consenting to these people being appointed as administrator. Then you're required to go to the local chief of where this person died to get a letter confirming that you are known to the deceased. You're supposed to take a death certificate to this chief, who then, once he issues you with a letter, you take it to Nyayo House where a file is opened. Then you move the matter to the High Court, the family division, whereby they require, in addition to the death certificate, the ID of the deceased person. You fill certain forms which show who the administrator is, whether the other beneficiaries or dependents are comfortable with the people who've been appointed to basically take care of the estate of the deceased. You're supposed to submit a schedule of assets. And once all these are filed, then the court processes begin. There's supposed to be a gazettement period to see if what you have filed in court is contested. Should this be contested because there's information you're not sitting with, this process could go on for days on end. We've had cases, even which are in the public domain, that have been going on for way over 20, 25 years.
Excuse me?
Yes.
25 years?
Yes. Because the dependents or the beneficiaries who are left behind cannot agree. So what are we saying, long story short? You can make it so easy for your dependents or beneficiaries by simply doing or writing a will.
What's the process if you've got the will in place?
So if you've got the will in place, you take your will together with the death certificate. You take them to the family High Court division, and a file is opened, and the court process begins. So it's called the process of basically enforcing or validating the will. There's still a gazettement period where the judge allows anyone with issues to come and contest. But we've had issues run for as short as 4 months.
Okay.
And once the will is validated, you're given what's called the grant of probate, which basically is the court enforcing the contents of the will and asking that the administrator now begins to distribute the properties accordingly, or go according to the instructions that are stated in the will. So, and then once you get your grant of probate, there's a session that allows for the confirmation to be done, the confirmation of, so that the will...
Confirmation of grant?
The confirmation of grant is completely done. This requires about a 6-month period, but sometimes you can give the court circumstances that allow it to be done in an even shorter time. If there's children waiting for school fees, if there's someone who's sick in hospital and requires that money, and we've had instances where the judges have allowed this process to be much shorter, the confirmation to be done in a lesser period than the 6-month required period. While if there is no will, you don't even get the options for this. You wait until the matter runs its course with whatever complications that may come with it.
So it's 1 year, 10 years, 25 years.
And
meanwhile, yes, the accounts are frozen.
Yes.
You can't access any of the money. If they had been paid some money, you have no access to it as long as that money is in their accounts.
In fact, interestingly, very recently, where couples don't have joint accounts, we've had instances where monies are needed even for the burial, and the monies cannot be accessed, because what the banks argue is that for any amounts that are 500,000 and above, it has to go through the court process, the high court process, before those funds can be accessed. If especially it wasn't a joint account between the couple, where it's either or to sign, where they've made exceptions where it was both to sign, where the bank knows the couple really well, but where it was just an account held, a single account, a singly held account by one person, then the other person is unable to access the funds, where the funds are more than 500,000 Kenya shillings, and you have to wait for the whole process to be undertaken before you can access the funds.
Last question for this video. How much will it cost me to get a will done? Just ballpark, or give me a range.
It depends on who your lawyer is, really. As I said earlier, a will does not have to be drawn by a lawyer. You can write your own will. Which would then be free. Yeah. But the only catch is, if for any reason your will is deemed invalid because for whatever reason you did not follow due process, or the execution was not properly done, and it's challenged, then you die as if you died intestate without a will. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing that wisdom. Guys, please just write this thing down on a piece of paper and share it with somebody. Well, not your family. You don't want fights, but make sure you have a will that's in place that will help you be at peace and know that the things that you've left behind, your family will not be left in a very distressed situation. I wish you all the best. If you have any questions, please do send them through sema@moneywise.co.ke, and continue to share, subscribe, and let other guys know that this information is available to them. This is Rina Hicks, and you are watching MoneyWise, where we create, grow, and preserve wealth.